Hello, I'm Shawn Kenney, and welcome to playing some more Kerbal Space Program. In particular, we're going to look at the Kethane mod. This is going to be the second part. So now that we have the satellite orbiting the Mun, scanning for Kethane, I've designed a rover to send to the Mun to go and collect that Kethane, convert it into fuel to fuel our explorations. It's pretty basic rover at this point. Few parts on here that I'm going to go over. One of the first one that you're going to need is some Kethane tanks, which is these tanks that are available. They have a number of different sizes. As you can see, the larger ones, smaller ones. For compact size, I chose a smaller one with these side tanks to give it a little bit extra capacity. But since it's pretty much going to be a holding tank, and then we're going to be converting it by using the heavy converter here. The Kethane parts are basically green, so they are a little bit easier to identify. So this heavy converter unit, now it's going to be using a lot of power, so that's why I've added like 4 of those nuclear reactors, as well as solar panels and batteries. May or may not have enough power to like fully run it, but you can sort of run it in bursts as well. So we'll see how that works. It can be a little tricky to test without Kethane on board, so we're going to have to get someplace to really sort of flesh out the design, but I'm kind of hoping this will be enough to get us started, and the rest is just sort of the booster stage to get into orbit. So let's go ahead and launch. And what I'll do is I'll switch over to the Space Center quickly before we launch and have a look at that Keth satellite. And I had to let it run for a couple hours and slightly accelerated time to get a lot of the scanning done. And we'll go to the Space Center here. And here we are. So, with this update of the Kethane module, or the mod, as you can see, it's adding that overlay, which is making it really easy to sort of see where the Kethane is. It's even give you some nice information, like the brighter it is, the higher the concentration. So if I highlight over here, it's saying Kethane's at about 235,000 or so. So if we look at the ones that are darker, it's saying about 86,000. So whereas the previous version would give you a little mini map, and you could sort of highlight over to get longitude, latitude coordinates of the planet. There was no, unless you're using MechJeb, there was no real way to, or maybe some of the satellite, the mapping add-ons. It was really difficult to sort of determine where on that little mini map it was represented on the actual planet or moon. Now, since this update, it's overlaying it right on top of the planet, so we don't need to use like a MechJeb to land at a specific longitude, latitude, which means we can go ahead and do this mostly manually without any mods. So as you can see, I just let that run. There's still more to do, but eventually, given enough time, this will sort of scan the entire planet. So we'll go back and let's get our rover on the Mun, hopefully. Haven't actually tried landing it or getting to the Mun. This is going to be a live test, so things could go wrong. Hopefully not. I did try. I was experimenting with the booster, trying to make sure that I had enough thrust to get into orbit, and we do. Although we are going to be relying on the final stage on the actual the final rocket. It's the last stage itself. But there's enough fuel in there, I think, that we're going to be able to, at least as far as getting to the Mun and back goes, that's not going to be a problem. I have this sort of middle stage as more of an orbital maneuvering stage. Unfortunately, this booster stage is not enough to get it entirely up, so we have to pretty much use that entire thing just to help us even get close to orbit. So it may require a bit of redesigning if I want to send this further to, say, Duna, but let's give this a try. I'm going to accelerate, set the throttle, not not towards the max. Basically, if these large rockets will overheat if you run them at the maximum, and sometimes things start to fall apart. So I like just going maybe a bit over 2/3, and we'll start engaging this here. So hopefully everything's not going to be flying apart. I was having some weird issues where basically I was using a really similar, pretty much exactly the same design, and I was having parts fall off. So I was, using the 4 symmetry, and then one of the tanks would just drop off as soon as I got into the launch pad for some reason. Don't know what was going on there, considering I was using the symmetry tool and everything should be exactly the same. Even when I sort of inspected it, all the struts were in there and everything, but I was definitely having some weird issues. Although this one seems to be working. So we got the solid boosters. We're going to be losing those. That just sort of helps get us started. And there we go. And so I'm going to be wanting to watch my speed. I do want to try and keep it accelerating up to about 150 meters per second, and then keeping that around 150 meters a second until at least we get out of the thickest part of the atmosphere, and then we can start accelerating again a little bit more. Just otherwise, what we're doing is we're basically wasting fuel trying to fight air resistance when we don't necessarily need to. So we're just say we're starting to get up to that point. I'm just going to start easing off a little bit. And if we're going a little bit higher than that, that's not going to be the end of the world for sure. Just don't want to be sort of going super fast, 200-300 meters per second in this lower atmosphere, just because you're going to ultimately run in, you're just going to be wasting fuel, really. So here, we're about 10 kilometers up. I'm going to start the gravity turn. I'm going to be going to 90 degrees. And here we go. And hitting T to lock on the SAS, which is always necessary, especially for a large rocket like this, because there's a lot of momentum, a lot of inertial mass that you need to overcome. And so everything's looking pretty good. Let's check our orbit out. So at this point now we can actually start accelerating somewhat to try and get this. We want to get this apoapsis up at least over 70. I prefer like 80 or 90 or so, but it depends on how our fuel situation's gonna go. I'm gonna try and keep it around, try and stay on that target as much as possible until I get that the apoapsis up. See, that's accelerating really quite quickly, although we are going to be, this first stage is going to be running out of fuel really soon. Yeah, there we go. So, while I was hoping this might be more my orbital transition phase, using a bunch of these aero spikes, I was thinking maybe that might end up boosting me right up into orbit, but we'll see here. Mostly it's not quite enough, though. This rover is pretty heavy. I'm hoping that it will land alright, although that's as much dependent on me landing softly, which is always a bit of a challenge in Kerbal Space Program, especially when you're doing a manual landing. Anyone trying to get to the Mun for the first time will know. But it just takes a little bit of practice. So here we are. We're just going to wait until we get close to this apoapsis. So otherwise, even if I'm burning at a direct 90, directly here, sort of at the horizon, while it will sort of extend the orbit out, it will also increase that apoapsis a lot. So I want to avoid as much spending fuel to raise the apoapsis. I want to extend it out, extend the periapsis out so that we actually get an orbit here. And 70 is just, this will end up getting higher, but I think we're pretty close here now. So now, thankfully, we're up out of the atmosphere, using a Poodle engine for, a little bit of thrust, and then these the aero spike engines for really for boosting us through here. these, because they're fairly efficient. Actually, they're really quite efficient, although they don't have any thrust vectoring, but that's why, the Poodle engine is in there. That gives you the thrust vectoring, so you get a little bit of the best of the both worlds there. And you can run these at full 100% without sort of worrying about the overheat will come up, but it won't get to the end. They won't explode, thankfully. I do want to try and stay on our target there. There we go. Alright. So, there's not going to be a whole lot of thrust in that. They are quite efficient, but, it's a slow push. I'm just going to want that to run out of fuel, because then I'm going to be going on to the rover, which itself has 3 Poodle engines, which should give us a much better thrust to weight ratio than just the one trying to push this little heavier rover. As you can see, it is, for the most part, we're almost have an orbit here, and just almost out of fuel as well on this stage anyways. There we go. Now we should keep trying to stay on target there as well. And we are sort of past that, and definitely not the most efficient way, but it should be sufficient. Alright, so we're starting to get an orbit here. I want to get this periapsis at least up. Yeah, 70. There we go. So it's could definitely use a bit of circularization, but for the most part, we'll just extend the periapsis up a little bit. So what are we at there? 96. That's going to be a good spot to start our moonshot. So I'm just going to circularize a little bit. Whether that's necessary or not, I don't know. I just like to do it. Maybe I'm just wasting fuel. I don't know. I'm no expert. I just like having fun with this game, so. Let's see here. Alright. It's not going to require a whole lot. I just need to bump that up to say, but no, yeah, that should be good. Alright, so we want to go for the MUN. Now, what we want to do is, we can do this without the maneuver node system. The MUN is really the easiest one to shoot for. All you really need to do is wait until you are... Basically the moon starts, or the MUN starts to come up over the horizon of the planet. So, it's still going to be behind there though. I'm just going to time accelerate. There we go. So I'm going to sort of do this blind just to show you. Now, of course, the maneuver node system makes this so much easier, and you can be a lot more efficient as well. But just to give you an example, if we start fight the mass here a little bit, bring us back on. So we do basically a straight acceleration. Now that the MUN may be a little bit late in burning, but we should be able to make any adjustments necessary. So we start burning. We should get ourselves an intercept. And I do hope we have enough fuel, of course, but we should have. I'm pretty sure. I mean, these are fairly efficient rockets. We do have a fair amount of fuel. I have these 2 side tanks funneling into the center one. Mainly because that's going to be my return module. Now, the idea is that we are going to be able to refuel, but in case, say at the last moment we have to wave off because, I don't know, stuff happens sometimes. The idea is we're going to be able to separate off those two side boosters, and then it'll just be a sort of one small little rocket that we'd be able to return home on. So I'm going to try and keep this continuing to accelerate on our target here. And we should start to see an intercept shortly once that apoapsis gets into the range of the MUN. I really hope this does work. Normally I would use the maneuver node, but I just wanted to... Yeah, maybe there. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, as I said, pretty much once if you're on just an orbit around the equator, and you wait until the MUN comes up over the horizon and you do a straight shoot for it, you really should be okay as far as getting that. Yeah, once again, of course, maneuver node system, you can play around with that all you want. I was just showing that as an example. So at this point we can accelerate our time. I'm going to have a look. So yeah, we're about halfway through those two side tanks. So that's a little worrying for me, and that's a little more fuel than I was kind of hoping from our lander stage. Because we are going to be requiring a fair amount of fuel to circular, or get in orbit and then descend and then land. But we'll see how this works. We could end up with a spectacular explosion, or not. It's hard to say. Anything can happen in Kerbal. Now, anyone who's just picked up, took advantage of that Steam sale. I think, as I looked at it, there's about an hour left on it on Monday here, but by the time this video is posted, the summer sale is probably going to be off for Kerbal, but who knows, maybe more sales will come. Certainly been popular, so here we go. Okay, so now thankfully it looks like we got a pretty good start of an orbit, so we probably won't require a whole lot of fuel to actually circularize that. So we'll accelerate until we get to, say, the periapsis, which is going to be a good spot to do the there we go. Okay. Well, how far? We're about 3 minutes away. Okay, let's start orientating ourselves so that we'll have the deceleration node, which is that one right there. And we're just going to lock onto that and maybe time accelerate it a minute or so into the future here. There we go. I think that's close enough to start this burn. And I just want to sort of circularize it a bit to I can start planning my actual descent. Okay. Maybe some maneuvering necessary. I think I'd like to land here. That looks like a good field to start exploring. It's like one of the larger ones. It seems to be quite rich. So at this point, I think we will use a maneuver node. And probably it would be best to start it here, I think. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But I think this might be the best way to go about doing it. So what I want to do is try and make a sort of an intercept there. So we'll go right overhead it, right over the field. And then we'll be able to somewhere here basically do our deceleration so that we don't go down into the gravity well of the MUN. And we can probably even tighten that orbit up a bit. Since there's no atmosphere on the MUN to worry about, we can actually orbit it at a fairly low altitude without too much worry. Say about 40 kilometers up. There's certainly no mountains or anything to worry about that are that high. I think it's about maybe about the 10K. I don't know how high any of the mountains are. I know I have sort of played around with having a really low orbit around the MUN. And it's about, I think maybe about 15-20 kilometers was really quite low. I don't think I really played around with trying to get it lower than that, but I mean basically you can do that as long as you're not going to hit anything, any perturbances out of the mun. So I'm going to accelerate to our maneuver node. So all this is sort of doing is just sort of lining up my orbits or where I want to go before I do my final descent. The amount of fuel that we have is, yeah, I mean, this is going to be, I think we may be landing on fumes. We'll have to see, I guess. Could be exciting. Alright, so what do we have? So we figured it's a 10-second burn, so I'm going to want to start my burn at about 5 seconds. There we go. And I'm just going to go strictly by the maneuver node in this particular case. And there. And maybe, yeah, I think that's close enough. And yeah, that's pretty good, I think. Alright, so I'm going to take care of that one. And now, basically going to add a descent node there. So that's kind of what we're definitely going to have to be killing any. Actually, I think maybe what I'll do, we'll do it like this. It's 38-second burn, 438 meters per second. Like I said, I'm really starting to get worried whether I have enough delta V in this to make a go of it. But either I'll get it there, and we'll start mining. If not, we'll have a spectacular explosion, and then I'll just have to do a follow-up video where I actually get this rover to the. Oh shoot! I didn't want to do that. Hit the wrong button. Trying to find that blue node. There it is. Okay. One of the updates, I guess, in the 0.21 that I hear may be coming is with the SAS, when it's turned on, you'll now first of all, they're fixing it so you don't get a lot of oscillation, especially with space stations. Multiple parts that weren't sort of strapped down. You know, you'd have sort of a couple long parts attached to each other, and if you turned on your SAS, you'd end up getting an oscillation occur, which, if you left the SAS on, would ultimately be catastrophic. I've had a few stations sort of shake themselves apart because I turned SAS on and time accelerated by, forgot about the SAS. I also put another detector. We'll disable the scanner as well. We'll just turn that on, so we'll start scanning as we're on our way down. And that's just mostly not nearly as necessary now. We have a satellite sort of doing the scanning for us, as well as the overlay grid, but I used to like to put those sensors on the earlier version where you didn't have the overlay grid, so it was kind of little, you'd think you get in the right area, but you might have to do a little bit of searching around trying to localize where the Kethane was. Alright, so we're coming up to that node now. Go. So we're about 30. So they figure it's going to be a 34-second burn. So we want to start that at 15, 17 seconds. T-minus 17 seconds. We'll do that. Here we are. Just a few more. And here we go. It's moment of truth, because once we start this, there's going to be not much I can do to pull out of it. Like I said, I might be able to drop those side tanks off and maybe scrub the mission at the last moment, but I don't hold out a whole lot of hope of that. So looking under fuel, we're definitely getting low. In fact, I'm going to kill it there just to try and save as much fuel as possible, because now I suppose, yeah, that is kind of one. There, you know, there's a couple. I could definitely sort of argue for taking those fuel lines out. As you know, if I actually were to land, my big worry is that I'm going to have all this fuel in the center tank, and these side tanks are going to cut out on me, and I'm going to lose sort of like 2/3 of my thrust along on the way down. Now the other thing I'm noticing here is we're still sort of on the dark side, so this is going to be a night landing. Is well, this is going to be exciting. I think definitely exciting. So it's going to be strictly instrumentation, I think. I do have lights, so when we do get near the ground, it should show up for us. Okay, I'm definitely making this difficult on myself. Just accelerating. Okay, so we're at about 20. So if you click on this box, this is going to give you some, see the orbit and the surface. I want the surface, because that's going to be my main concern now, sort of what my relative velocity is to the surface of the Mun. And we're coming down pretty quick, and I'm going to start decelerating at around 20 kilometers. I think I have enough thrust to, yeah, that's pretty responsive. So it is kind of a game of chicken at some points. It's like how late do you wait to start burning? Yeah, because I'm definitely going to start losing those side tanks, and I just don't know whether I have enough thrust in just one of them to actually land this thing. I guess we're going to try. May have to go and do a little bit of redesign, and I'll maybe just get it on the Mun and start another video if this doesn't work. But we'll see. We'll see. I suppose I could try. I mean, I could try transferring some fuel to those tanks. The thing I worry about, though, is not doing it. It's really hard to sort of transfer an exact amount, because it pretty much is sort of like, you know, time it, click it to transfer, then click it to stop transferring, and hope you get pretty close. So right now we are doing pretty good. A lot of our lateral momentum is gone. We're almost coming straight down, and that's basically, I'm just going to keep burning at that deceleration node. There we go. So we've just lost our two side engines, and we're going to be relying on just the one that really is half the fuel of the other ones. Yeah, I just don't know. Okay, we're at 5,000. I think we're coming down really. This is actually, we're getting into the danger zone here now. The ground is coming up. Accelerating. Now we really need to be under 10 meters per second in landing, and the fact though is even under 10 meters per second, if you're landing at sort of 5 to 10 meters per second, then you can really still damage your spacecraft. Especially with the rover wheels, I'm a little worried about those. So, okay, so we actually might be doing okay. So I just want enough thrust so that we're not accelerating down anymore, and that we're just sort of slowly dropping out. Now here's where it gets tricky, because I want to try and kill all. I want that to be right on that center. That means we're coming sort of straight down with no lateral movement at all. And I just want to continue to kill that, because we do sort of get a little bit of drift. I said I'm still worried about the fuel. We're about 3 kilometers up, so I'm going to actually start. I don't want to decelerate too quickly though, because it's. Oh, night landings on the Mun are. Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay, we can do this. This is good. We got it. Okay, just now I'm starting to accelerate away from the planet. I don't want that. Okay, we might be in good shape. We've got half a tank of fuel. I can start slower descent just a little bit. Ideally, I want this sort of under 1 meter per second. That's the other thing I'm going to do is turn the brakes on so we don't start rolling. Okay, trying to kill all momentum. There we are. We're about 1 meter per second. I just want to decelerate a little bit. How are we on that fuel? The other thing we don't really know is what kind of slant or what the, looking at with the lights, it's really not giving me much as far as orientation of the ground. It's starting to come down a little bit too fast here, so I'm going to add a little bit more thrust. We're starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Lateral momentum can really be a bad thing trying to land. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to make it worse here. I'm trying to compensate, and that's always one of the real tricks. Okay, I think we're just sort of hovering now. Oh. Too much speed. Oh, no. Don't tip. Oh, God, no. Oh. Disaster. Okay. Well, our Kerbal survived. Our ship did not. And I think it was a little bit of my fault at the end there. I forgot to kill the thrust, and as I was tipping over, still had just a little bit of thrust, and that was basically still turning me over. So we have Bill, Jeb, and Bob are now stranded on the Mun, surrounded by debris. Maybe what I might look at doing is maybe all. I don't know. Now I'll have to redesign a rover. Maybe I can add an extra crew compartment to it, and try and rescue these guys at the same time as getting a Kethane miner down to have a look. We'll accelerate a little time and get a little bit of daylight and just see what the situation is around us. But they're thrilled. They're on the Mun. Until they run out of fuel and oxygen and everything. Okay, so we did have a bit of a slant. So that is definitely one of the risks. Night landing. I really should have accelerated until we were at the point when this spot was in the light, because I probably would have had a much better time if I was able to see some of these hills and not try and land right on the side of one of them. So, yeah, that's Kethane. We didn't actually really do much in the way of with Kethane, other than maybe have a look at what it is, what the new map looks like after it's been scanned. But we won't be doing any mining right now. I guess that's it for the now. So long for now. Thanks for watching.